Hola, welcome, bienvenidos, bienvenidas. Me alegro tanto verlo a todos ustedes. My name is Jody Rode. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Latin American and Latina Studies, and I'm also the director of the Ronald H. Brown Law School Prep Program at John Jay College. And I'm really thrilled to be here tonight. This was a dream for us in Puerto Rico last year, so we've made it a reality. It's very special. So welcome to our house. Nuestra casa es su casa. The programs that were handed out will provide you with tonight's schedule on the second page. We ask that you please stay for the question and answer after the film with our creator Antonio Morales and his cast of stars. So I'm going to show you who they are. Antonio, if you could stand up one more time. Antonio Morales. Stay standing. Anushka Medina Cristal. Xavier Morales, the lead actor Angelo. And Sebastián Velázquez, the actor Mongol. They all flew from Puerto Rico to be with us here tonight, so one more round of applause. So at this time, I'm going to do a couple of welcomes. Our President Travis wasn't able to be here tonight, so he sends his warmest regards. And a very special person that's dear to this project and to me in particular, and I know to Antonio, Ildamar Ortiz from HUD Puerto Rico also sends her love. So at this time, I'm going to ask everybody to please silence their cell phones. And I'm going to ask you to remember that there's absolutely no video or any type of recording of the film whatsoever allowed. So, so before I start, I want to have everybody to me in this evening, to all of us, is very special. But I have to send a couple special thank yous to our veterans who serve our country. They're here today. If they could stand. So I'm going to name a few people, and it doesn't mean that anybody else isn't important. Ms. Mirza Oriolis and HUD overall, Carlos Lavoy Diaz from NYSHA, Margarita Lopez, New York City Housing Authority as well, Mr. Gary Kemp, who came from the U.S. Supreme Court. He's the Deputy Clerk of the U.S. Supreme Court. He came in from D.C. to be here with us. Marlene Torres from the U.S. Library of Congress, who also came from D.C. Rosa Cruz Cordero, the Puerto Rican Federal Affairs Office. Melissa Mark Vinerito, New York City Council member. Annabelle Palmer, New York City Council member. Jonathan Bean from Time Warner. Special ADA Lee Lambelis from the Manhattan's DA's office. Mireya Navarro, which did a wonderful article that you have in your hand on the New York Times on the movie. Juan Gonzalez, author in the Daily News, who's here to cover the story. Thank you, Juan. Javier Vidal and Ricardo Chacon, executive producers and GFR Media. Polo Avila Sinecoa. Margarita Rosa, president of Grand Street Settlement. Alisa Rodriguez, Major Narcotics Investigation Bureau. Flaco Navaja. Maria Hinojosa. David Galarza, who gave us enormous support with the press. He's a special assistant at CSEA. I have to give him a round of applause. Zinaida Mendez, president of NOW. El Diario La Prensa, thank you for your article, beautiful article today. And my chair, Lisandro Perez, because every time I have an idea, he supports me. Thank you, Lisandro. You have to stand up, Lisandro, because without you, this wouldn't be, Thank you, Lisandro. And a very, very special thanks to just the most phenomenal woman, Jacqueline Nieves from our department, who really put this all together with our student volunteers from SASP. Is Jackie in the house? But she's probably outside with the tickets. Okay, so because I'm bringing greetings from other people, I have messages in my message, so forgive me for the length, but you'll understand when I share it with you why it's this long. So tonight we will highlight one of the most significant youth leaders in Puerto Rico, Antonio Morales. Tonight is about creating alternatives to violence for our youth. Antonio Morales has used theater and the arts since the young age of 15 to help the youth in Puerto Rico survive, develop, and shine. To understand this, I will begin with a description of what I call a social movement, Por Amor en el Caserio. Por Amor en el Caserio is a film about the struggles of a public housing community against drugs, guns, and violence, written and produced by Antonio Morales and directed by Luis Enrique Rodriguez. It provides us with an in-depth view of life in the largest public housing project in the Caribbean, Luis Llorens Torres, located in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and is based on the life story of Antonio Morales. Por Amor en el Caserio is a stellar example of what youth in public housing can do to help eradicate and reduce violence in their community when provided the proper in-kind and monetary, governmental, and community support. This film serves as a model for violence prevention, reduction, and alternative sentencing options for non-violent youth offenders. It can also be utilized to assist re-entry programs. More importantly, it breaks the myth associated with living in public housing. This film is our youth's voice on the issue of violence and what is happening today. Antonio Morales was born and reared in Luis Llorens Torres. At the age of 15, he also founded the community theater's workshop and named it Viviendo el Arte, Living the Art. A couple of years later, in November 2001, he released his play entitled Por Amor en el Caserio, a play that would transform lives, communities, and the youth of Puerto Rico one step at a time. 12 years later, and 500 productions of the play have passed since the first opening night of the performance. Antonio Morales also helped broker a peace treaty between two rival gangs in the housing project Luis Llorens Torres, the largest and most infamous housing project on the island, less than 1 year ago. And for only one incident in July 2012, there has been peace since. At the young age of 15, he also began using theater as a means to maintain other youth out of drug use, violence, teenage pregnancy, prison, and gangs by keeping them involved in their self-development using theater and the arts. Public housing matters. Public housing in Puerto Rico has existed since the 1950s. The Puerto Rico Housing Authority manages 325 developments with 56,120 public housing units scattered throughout Puerto Rico. The New York City Housing Authority, in New York, that is the largest public housing authority in the United States, followed only by the Puerto Rican Housing Authority, which is the second largest public housing authority in the nation. Chicago and Los Angeles hold third and fourth place respectively. This gives you a sense of the importance of this film, Por Amor en el Caserio. It was filmed in the second largest and most infamous housing project in the United States, yet the youth were able to turn around a negative experience to share and voice their position on issues that confront all of us, whether in New York, Puerto Rico, Chicago, Los Angeles, or any large urban center in the United States. It is because of this film that John Jay College has chosen to screen this film. We are committed to open spaces for our youth to voice their concerns and needs. It is because of this that we are honored to premiere Antonio Morales' Por Amor en el Caserio in New York City for the first time. Data indicates that over 40% of the residents that live in public housing in Puerto Rico are under the age of 17. Furthermore, close to 50% of the population living in public housing are female-headed households with children. The average annual income of this population is approximately $4,000. Public housing is an important cornerstone to the island housing policy. Antonio is an example of what public housing can produce. The youth before you today, Antonio, Anushka, Xavier, Sebastian, are all actors and examples of what collaborations between our local communities and our government can produce. Public housing as a public good was created as a means to ensure access to adequate housing for those with the greatest need. In Puerto Rico, it's no different. Public housing has served as housing of last resort for families, helping families by providing shelter yet in the United States it has been under constant attack and fallen victim to monetary cutbacks. Given the large percentage of children living in public housing in Puerto Rico and in the United States, we can say and should say that housing matters. We need a better understanding of how affordable housing matters in shaping the lives of this country's youngest residents. Antonio Morales is the young leader that can show us the way. I invite you all to speak to Antonio about ways by which we can create the natural bridge of connection between Antonio's work in the public housing divisions in New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, and other large urban cities to bring peace, to help our youth invest in themselves, and to reduce and prevent violence using the arts and theater. On behalf of the Latin American and Latina Studies Department and the Ronald H. Brown Law School Prep Program and SASP and John Jay College of Criminal Justice, it's my honor to present to you today an insight into the reality of life in public housing. Por Amor en el Caserio. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Wow. I'm speechless. Thank you. Muchas gracias a todos. Qué bueno, mientras estaba ahí sentado, sentí como mucha gente que hay aquí del caserío se disfrutaba en cada momento y realmente eso okay, so thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask Javier Vidal, Antonio to have a seat over here, Anushka, Xavier, y Sebastián, y Luz Bonilla. And while they're taking their seats so that we can start our Q&A, I want to also recognize two very special guests that are here with us today. Francois Martin, the Executive Vice President at the Weinstein Company. I don't know where Francois is. Is he still here? Francois, gracias por venir. And Ellis Coase, an author and journalist. Ellis is around here, I know he is. Ellis, thank you for coming today. And I also want to recognize the family of Ruedas. Ruedas is the character that was in the wheelchair. Their family, the actor's name is Edwin Gonzalez. His family's here. So we have our panelists. Antonio's our beautiful creator. Xavier is our beautiful Angelo. Anushka or Cristal, Sebastián Mongol, Javier is from GFR Media, and Luz Bonilla, I have to say, is amazing publicist. Yeah, give her a round of applause. So before we start the Q&A, I want to just put out there that Por Amor en el Caserio is seeking a U.S. distributor for the film, so if anybody's interested, please approach us afterwards. You can follow Antonio and Por Amor at Facebook or on their website, www.poramorenelcaserio.com. And we have merchandise for sale outside, t-shirts and caps and stickers. And special, we're going to have pictures with the cast after the Q&A in front of the photo exhibit outside the theater. So if anybody wants to stay for that. So I'm going to open up this question and answer. We have microphones at the end of each aisle. And ask anybody that's willing to ask the cast and Antonio any questions you may have. If you could say your name and where you're from.
So, hi, my name is Zaire Vinci Flores. I'm a professor at Rutgers University. I'm from Ponce. And my scholarship is actually sobre los residenciales. ¿Español mejor?
Ok, pues felicidades, me encantó la película, la actuación fue maravillosa. Y con eso tengo una pregunta sobre no nada más del punto sociológico, que soy socióloga, de cómo la película no nada más informa la dinámica dentro de el residencial, pero también cómo cambia la percepción y humaniza la vida en el residencial y cómo ustedes perciben esa dinámica, si lo ven, si lo han visto. Y también yo parte de lo que estudio es la estigmatización del residencial y que muchas veces se ve como racializado, como negro. Y con eso me estuvo interesante que la película, como no sé si está tratando de dar un mensaje sobre lo racial o no, pero quisiera como oír sobre esa dinámica, si existe, porque habían distinciones, ¿no? Se ve en la película, y si es implícito, ¿cuál es el mensaje?
So could you, just for our
translate?
yeah, if you
Yeah.
could say it quickly in
Okay.
English.
So my question, just briefly, is about how the movie might not only affect the dynamics within the public housing, but also how it might also inform how public housing is perceived island-wide. And with that also, I do work on racial stigma and class stigma of public housing, and how if there's an implicit message, because there were some distinctions in the movie that I'd love to hear, if there was an implicit or explicit, you know. So.
Okay, I'm gonna do my best in English, okay? Regarding your first question, yes, we do use the film. Well, remember, before the film, this all began as a theater production. I wrote this play when I was a senior at high school. I was inspired by Romeo and Juliet and West Side Story, and what I did was that I adapted it into my reality. I was a resident at Luis Llorens Torres, and I just found this, the story phenomenal, and I thought it was going to be, I thought it would work, and it did. So once we created the play, yes, the purpose of the play was precisely, that was our objective, to transform lives, because even though we were entertaining, we were also giving a positive message, a social transformation message. It was drug prevention, weapon prevention, awareness, I should say, drug and weapons awareness. It was very interesting how at the beginning, when we first showed the play, people would be like, oh, this is going to be really cool. It's a play about Caserio, and there's going to be gangsters and guns and killing. And so youth find that interesting, right? They go, they want to see action. They don't want you to, they're not there for a document. You know what I'm saying? So, of course, I use this hook to get all the youth gathered in a theater, and once they see the play, like the film at the end, well, you're supposed to be moved. That's the purpose of art. The purpose of art, you're supposed to leave the theater differently than from the way you came in. And that's exactly what happened with the play. So at the end of the play, we used to have these forums, these Q&As with the youth in the audience, and it was very amazing how kids would volunteer. They would come up to the mic and they would admit what they were doing. They would admit that they were selling drugs and they were desperately seeking for a way out. And a lot of those youth, we ended up giving them the tools, the advice, the counseling. Some of them joined our theater production. So when we saw that that was working, we continued spreading our art throughout the entire island. Then we realized that this could not stay among our people just with the play. And that's when I decided that we needed to take that next step and convert it into a feature film so it can reach massives, and that's what we're doing now. So that's the purpose of our film. Now, regarding the racial issue, I did it on purpose. I did. I really, to me it was important that, remember, me being black and being from a caserio and being poor, I'm not gonna make a movie and I'm not gonna put the cute white people being the main roles, you know? So, who better than my talented and beautiful black brother to play the lead role? And of course, when we talk about Papote versus Mongol, you know, we had two antagonists. I really tried to humanize both of them because really people, they can judge easily, but they don't know what these people are going through. But of course, one of them had to be more humble than the other, and of course, I'm gonna give all the good things to the black guy. Haven't we had enough? I mean, no offense, white people, but now it's our turn to stand out. Thank you.
I just want to say great job. Really, I've been watching the movies coming out of Puerto Rico, and it's just been really impressive to see the work that's coming out of there. I'm the writer-director of a movie called Sex, Love, and Salsa, which is coming out this Thursday in Brooklyn. And I was really impressed with the casting and also the chemistry that was between the two actors. And I was wondering, how did you, was there a lot of rehearsal process? And also, from translating from the stage to the screen, did anything change? Like, what was the process like doing that? Thanks.
Did I answer about the chemistry between you two? Hablo de la química yo, ustedes. Well, they decide if they want to answer the part of the chemistry. Regarding the screenplay, of course, first I had the script, the theater script. When I decided to convert it, I did not know anything about filmmaking. So the process took me a little over a year to adapt my own play into a film. It did take me an entire year. I took classes, I was in seminars, I had one-on-one coaching lessons to continue to finish writing my screenplay until it was finally done. So this was thanks to a lot of mentoring and counseling from professionals. Regarding the difference, when you see the show, you guys have to see the play. Actually, yes, that's the objective. That's what we want. The play, by the way, did you know that my play is now the first ever Puerto Rican play in being turned into a feature film? So we see this a lot in Hollywood to Broadway or Broadway to Hollywood. In Puerto Rico, this was never been done, so I feel very proud at that. And yes, we're gonna be working very hard with some of you folks that would be helping us, I hope, to bring the stage play here. Ahora, sobre la química entre ustedes.
Well, we are really good friends for such a long time, and we've been doing the play for a long time, so we've been practicing this. So, lo ensayé, and she's beautiful, right? So, she make me hacerlo más fácil.
Apoyo todo lo que dijo. I support everything he says. No, realmente nos llevamos súper bien y actoralmente tenemos química, actoralmente, pero fue una experiencia increíble actuar junto a Xavier y ya se pudo ver ahí.
So I really enjoyed the film, and I think I was really engaged through all of it. Like, there was a great mix of humor, of sentimental moments, romance, action, all of that. I have to say, one of my favorite lines, and I was like, damn, that was really good. How did they come up with that? About the romantic scene when they're talking about pairing the stars and how Diosito put a lot more into you than he put into the stars. Wow, that's really great. I loved it. But my question to you, certainly it's a film that educates us, but it also has a lot of sentiment. So I'm curious to know, what do you want your legacy to be?
Okay, I want people out there, people that are poor. It doesn't really matter if you're from a housing project, because I'm sure that you can live anywhere, and I'm pretty sure that you're gonna feel identified with this story, right? But to me, it's important that poor people out there that think that dreams are so far away because of their economic class, I want them to feel inspired by our work and realize that it doesn't matter the color of your skin, where you're from. You can actually make it happen if you pursue it. And you know, this has taken us a long time to actually make this dream come true, but we finally made it. So besides the drug awareness message that, of course, and obviously this is a drug and weapon awareness production, but it's also a story, you know, the story behind the story is a story about pursuing our dreams. And through this, I just want everyone to pursue their dreams. You know, look at me, I did it, so can you.
Brother, you inspire me.
Hi, good evening. My name is Banais. I totally identify with the movie because I've had a tragic experience in my family, and I come from a background of a poor neighborhood, not a housing project, but I can relate to your movie, exactly what you were saying. Being that I lost a loved one to the tragic situation of being in a poor neighborhood against authority, we don't come up on top because we're not given the benefit of the doubt at all at whatever times. Knowing that you wrote this many years ago, I feel that your message from your movie is the value of life, you know, regardless of how this life is, where this life is. Was that meant as another factor from your movie to say, you know, this generation, I feel, does not value the other's life as much as they value their own life now? And you know, this was written many years ago, so I wonder, do you see the difference in the neighborhoods now where how life is taken into value?
Absolutely. First of all, when you say many years ago, that sounds like
A couple.
But you're right, you're right. Absolutely, listen, I could have had 1,000 reasons to end up like my father. My father was one of the drug lords from Llorens for many, many years, and there's a lot of people here from my Caserio, and you know what I'm talking about. You know that what I'm saying is true. My mom, she ended up in the drug addiction world. She's the one, remember when Angelo took his picture and he saw his mom? That's actually our mother. So that's a little tribute that we wanted to make to her. Having said this, I could have had a million reasons to go to the hot spots and just sell drugs, and you know, we ended up orphans, we ended up homeless. We only had each other at the end. But there was one thing that saved us, and that was our unity and our love. And of course, through the film, we try to show that it doesn't matter the circumstances that are surrounding you. Life is beautiful. Life can be beautiful because you're the one that decide the destiny of your life. So the answer would be yes.
Thank you.
By the way, we also have in the panel our publicist and associate producer, Luz Bonilla, and Javier Vidal is from El Nuevo Dia, and he's also one of the executive producers. So if you have questions for them, well, you can.